Let's start. Right. So today we'll see the concept of component reusability. Okay, component reusability. So as the name itself suggests, reusing one Webdynpro component inside what another Webdynpro component. So it is something like this. Suppose if you take our Webdynpro component, if you take any Webdynpro component, what are the things we will use as part of a WebDimPro component? You may create what? Context. Am I clear? You may create the context. Then you may create what? Some what? Methods. You may create what? Some attributes. Okay. You may create what? Some views. You may create what? Some what? Windows. Okay. So all these components, so these components, I can use it in what? Another WebDimPro component. So what I have to do? I have to take another WebDimPro component too. In this WebDimPro component, I have to include what? WebDimPro component 1. Okay. So whenever I include any WebDimPro component inside another WebDimPro component, whatever the entities are there in the source component, and when I say entities, I'm referring to all this thing. All these things I can reuse in what? Another WebDimPro component. So that is nothing but called as what? Component reusability. So as of today, what I'll do, both source component as well as target component will be custom components only. Okay, both source component as well as what target component are custom components. Tomorrow onwards, what I'll do, I'll include what standard component inside what our custom component. So in order to know those things, first of all we should know how to work with our own component. So let's see how to do this. Am I clear? So the requirement is something like this. Yeah, simple. We'll have one WebDimPro component, WebDimPro component 1, which has got one view and which has got what? One table. Okay, in this table I have to display what? Sales orders. Okay, and the logic for retrieving the sales orders, I'll write it inside a method where I'll create this method as part of what? Component controller. Understood? If I created component controller only, I can access the methods and attributes outside the component. If I directly create the methods and attributes as well as context as part of view level, I cannot access it outside the component. So they should be declared globally, means they should be declared at component controller level so that I can access it outside the component also. Okay, so what I want here, so my source component is having what? One view, is having one method. Okay, then this is my target component, WebDimPro component 2. In this WebDriver component 2, I'll take a view and I'll take what? View container. Already we discussed this view container when we are discussing what? Roadmap UI element. At that time, we have embedded what? Internal views. Now, as part of this view container, I'll embed what? External view. So this view, whatever is there in what? Component 1, I will include in what? View container of what? This particular view. Am I clear? So I'm embedding what? External view. Okay, then what else? This view should also contain one input field where I have to enter what? Customer number. After entering the customer number, when I click on the button, it should call me the method available in what? Another component. So understood, this method is getting called from what? Other WebDimPro component. So what are the entities we are reusing here? We are using the method as well as we are using what? View. So going forward, I would be using the other things also, context, windows, what else? Attribute. So this is my overall requirement. Any questions, please ask me. Done. Okay, so let me create the source component first. What I have to do in the source component? I have to create one method. I have to create one view which contains what? What? Table. Okay, so for this table, what is the context I require? Node. Because table has to bind it with what? Node. Now we should decide where to create the context. Whether to create the context directly at view level, or should I create the context at component controller level. If I create at what? View level, I can bind with the table, but in this method we are going to get the sales data na? After getting the data, you have to get the reference of the node na? To get the reference of the node, that node should be available in the current controller na? Method is available at what level? Component controller. So the context also should be available at what level? At the component controller. Am I clear? If I directly create the context at view level, in the design time I can bind the table with what? Node. That's okay. But here in this method we are going to write the business logic to get the sales orders. After that we have to bind that internal table with the node na? So for that I have to get the reference. So if I say get child node, it will check for that node at what level? Component level, because method is also available at what level? Component level. But the context, if it's there at a view level, I cannot refer na? That's the reason I'll create the context at what? Component level. Then I'll do the internal context mapping so that I can bind with what? Table also. Am I clear to everyone online? Okay, I repeat once again. If I create the context directly at view level, while designing the table, yes, I can bind the table with that node. That's okay. But in the method we are going to get the sales orders. After that you have to bind that internal table to the node na? You have to get the reference of the node. So when I say get child node, it will check for that node at what? In the current controller. What is the current controller here? Component controller. But if you create the node at this level, what happens? It will not be recognized. That's the reason I'll create the context at what? Component control level, and then map it to what? View level. Okay, so excuse me 1 second. Right, so let me write it. So I'll go to what? SE 80 Webdynpro component 15 is already over. I'll just give some description. What? Source component Webdynpro 16. I'll give the window name. Let me get as what? Window. I'll give the view name as what? V1. Right, so I'll save it in the local object. Done. So Webdynpro component is what? Created. Right, now in this first, let me create what? Method. So what is the purpose of this method? It has to get the sales orders. But where I am going to call this method? I am going to call it from another component. So I can call it only if you create the method at what level? Component level. So that it is recognized as global method. Okay, so see here. As part of my Webdynpro component controller, right? Let me open it in editable mode. So we are at component controller level. I'll go to what? Methods, right? I'll give a method name. What is the method name? Shall I get what? Sales orders. Get sales orders. If you want to give any description, give it. Get sales orders of the what? Customer. Get sales. Okay. If I leave it like this, if I leave it like this method I can call only from within the same component. But later point of time, I have to call it outside the component. Na? So I have to select the checkbox what? Interface. Understood? If you don't select the checkbox interface, I can access this method from other views of the same component. So that's the reason I have to select it as what? Interface. We don't have this interface checkbox at a view level. That's why we'll create at what level? Component level, and you'll select the checkbox what? Interface. So let me select the checkbox interface. Let me check the documentation. I'll press F1. What is that? Item belongs to what? Interface of what? Component. This item belongs to the interface of the Webdynpro component. Set this indicator if a method is to be available for what? External use in what? Another component. So they're asking us to set this only if you want to use it what? Externally, outside the component also. Am I clear? Done. So this method has to get the sales orders based on the given customer. So that customer number where I'm going to pass, from where I'm going to pass, from the another component. So it has to import that customer number. So it should take that parameter. So for this method, I'll double click. I'll take one parameter. What is the parameter? I underscore what? Customer number. Okay. What type of parameter? Importing. Type what? KN1 hyphen what? Kunal. Hope it's clear. Understood? So I have taken one import parameter. Import parameter of type KN1 Kunal. I'll write the logic later on. Done? So now I require a view also. Now. In the view, what I require? Yes, I require what? Table. This table, how do we bind to the table, to the node? So if I directly create the view at what? View context level, I can design the table, I can bind with this. But programmatically, after getting the sales orders, you have to bind. For that, you have to get the reference of the node. But where is that method is available? At what? Component level. That is the reason I'll go back to what? Component controller. Here I'll create what? Global context node. So right click on this in the component control, right click on the root context, create what? Node. What is the node name? VBAK underscore node. Dictionary structure is what? ZC. What? VBAK. I'll choose the cardinality as 0 to n. Add attribute some structure. Let me select all these things. Done. Continue. Okay. So my context node is what? Created. Is it clear? Context node is created. Done. Now you go and write the actual business logic. So I'll go to methods. Write the logic for this first. Yeah. What is the first thing you have to do? Get what? Sales orders of the given customer. Okay. Based on this parameter, I have to require internal table now. So data t underscore vbak type. Okay, so based on this context, some declarations are available now. If you are at the view level, what happens? Based on the view, one interface gets generated, if underscore view one. But here it is not a view. So if you see these attributes, if underscore what? What is this? Component controller. What is the object of this also? WD is this. You'll have the same declarations. Same declaration. So what I'll do here? What is the object? WD underscore this. So type WD underscore this of what? Elements underscore VBAK node. Write the select query. Select weblen ERDAT ERZET ERNAM from what? From VBAK into table. What is the internal table? T underscore VBAK where customer number equal to what? The imported customer number. Okay, if the sales orders are available, if size of R is equal to 0, what I have to do? I have to bind it with the node now. So I have to get the reference of the node. We are at what level? Component controller. So do we have any reference node here? What is this? VBAK node. So that's the reason I created here. Okay. So what is that? Get the reference of what? Node. Which node? VBAK node. So I'll say data context underscore VBAK node type ref to what is the interface? If underscore WD underscore what? Context underscore what? Node. Okay, I'll go to pattern. ABAP objects pattern. What? WD underscore context. If WD context node, then what? Get what? Get child node. Okay, I'm calling the method get child node. Yeah, name. What is the name of the node? WD underscore this of what? what is that? WD what? CTX underscore what? VBAK node. Understood? So it's available here also. See, object is this one. In this, we have what? WCTX underscore VBAK node. Type what? VBAK node. Done. Receiving, what is this? Context underscore VBAK underscore node. Then, if context underscore VBAK underscore node is what? Bound. What I have to do? Bind what? Sales orders. So context underscore what? VBAK underscore node of what? Bind underscore table. What is the internal table? T underscore VBAK. Then what? And if else what is that? You give the message to indicate what? No customers. So flash message to indicate what? No sales orders. Okay, or else you can write it here only. Okay, how do you write? You have to get the reference of the component. So what is the first step? Get, okay, switch on the fan. Get reference of what? Webdynpro component. O underscore CMP type ref2 if underscore wd underscore what? Component, right? O underscore CMP is equal to, yeah, if you see here, in this if underscore what? Component controller only, we have a method what? Not there. We have method what? WD get API, which returns what? Reference of that particular component. So what is this? WD underscore this of what? WD underscore get underscore what? API. Done. Next, if O underscore CMP is what? What? Bound. What you have to do? Get the reference of what? Message manager. So data O underscore message manager type ref to what? If underscore wd underscore message underscore manager. I'll use a pattern. What is the object? O underscore CMP. If wd component. What is the method name? Get message manager. Get message manager. It is not a direct method, it is part of what? Interface. Get message manager. Receiving, what is this? O underscore message underscore what? Manager. Done. Okay. If O underscore message underscore manager is what? Bound. What? I want to flash the warning message. I want to flash the warning message. So I'll go to pattern, above objects pattern, O underscore message underscore manager. If wd message manager, what is the method? Report underscore what? Warning message. Report underscore warning. I'll just give a message. What is this? No sales orders. That's it. Save it. Check it. Done. Activate the method. Okay. Don't activate individually. So what is the logic we wrote here? Based on the given customer number, we are getting what? What? Sales orders. If the sales orders are available, we are getting the reference of the node. Using that reference, we are binding that sales orders to the what? Binding the sales orders. Okay. If there are no sales orders, I have to flash the warning message. So for that, I got the reference of Webdynpro component. Using the reference, you are getting the reference of message manager. Using that, we are reporting what? Warning message. So done. Check it. Then let us go to what? View 1. I have to create the table here. Na? Table should be binded with a node. Do we have any node here? No. So first let me do what? Internal context mapping. Internal context mapping. I have done the internal context mapping. Then I'll go to layout. Then what is this? Insert element, or I can go for what? Wizard also. I'll go to wizard. I'll choose what? Table. I'll choose a context node what? VBAK node. Okay, done. continue. Okay, so table header. Okay, so table is binded. Now let me, I don't think I require application for this, because why I don't require application? I am not going to execute this component directly now. I am going to reuse it in what, another component. So that's why I am not creating any application. So what are the entities we have created here? We have created one global method. We have created what, one what, view. Okay, so I'm done with what, my source component. Done. So everything is what, active. Done. So hope it's clear to everyone, right? I created one global method. I marked it as what, interface method, so that I can access it what, outside the component. Then I created one context. This context I cannot use it in another component. Even though I created this at what, component level, I can map it only to the views of this component. If you want to use it in other components, you have to create this interface as what, this node as what, interface node. Here there is a checkbox now. So I don't require this context in another component. That's why I'm not creating it as what, interface. Going forward, I'll use the context of one component inside what, another component. So at that time I'll have to create this as what, interface node. Okay, done. Then I implemented that method to get the sales orders for the given customer. Then I have designed the table with what, I have designed the view with what, table. So my component is what, ready. Now let us go to what, 17th component. Just try to understand here. Right, I'll give the window name as underscore window. Let me give the view name as v1. Okay, so as of now, remember, there is no relationship between what, 16th and what, 17th. Both are what, independent components. So let us focus on what, the target component. What we require here, what, one input field. So input field requires an attribute na, for binding. So let me create a view. In that view I'll create what, one, what, input field, so that I can bind it. I'll create one attribute so that I can bind with the input field. So I'll go to the view one. So first I have to create what, context. Okay, I'll go to context. Let me give the attribute name. I'll give the attribute name is what, cst number. Type what, kna1 hyphen customer number. So one attribute is created. Done. Then I'll design the layout. I should take one input field now. So let me right click on the insert element. I'll say type is what, input field. Done. For the input field you have to set what property, value property now. So let me bind the value property. It has to be binded with the attribute. We have only one attribute, what, cst number. Then what else, I'll take one button also. Okay, or else first let me take what, a label. So right click on this, insert element, LB1. I'll say type of element is label. For the label, I'll give the label for as what, input field. Text is what, I'll say customer number. Let me interchange the position. Now, okay, done. Then I require one button also. No? So let me right click on this, insert element, B1, type what button, type is button. Get sales orders. Then I have to associate the on action event. Na? So I'll go to on action. I'll give the action name. What is that? Call underscore what? External method. Some action name I'm giving. Call external method. Call external method for what? getting what? Sales order. So I have assigned the action done. So my button is created. Now this view is plugged to what? Window. Done. Let me create the application for this. Underscore what? App. Then I'll say app what 17. Let me save it. Done. Let me activate this. I'll activate my Webdynpro component. Right click on this and say activate. It is activated. Okay. Right, it is activated. Now, so let me run this application, which is not dependent on what? Other application as of now. So see here, I got this. Okay. So this is the view which belongs to the current component only, 17th component. What I have to enter here? Customer number. I have to what? Click on what? The button what? Get sales order. So when I click on this, what should happen? I have to call what? External method. I have to call the external method. So before that, I should have a table also here na, for showing what? Sales orders. Where that table is designed in another component in the view V1, in the 16th component view. So I have to embed this here, right? I have to embed that particular view in the current component. So see the technique here. Online hope it's clear to everyone. Okay. So simple technique. If you take our normal web, how do we include a include program in another one? By using what? Include statement. So here, as part of component level, I'm in the 17th component. Let me open a table node. So already at the component level, what are the things we have configured? What? Service caller. Already we discussed service call. Already we have seen how to attach what? Assist file. At the component level itself, there is a tab here. At the component level, there is a tab what? Used component. So which component you want to use? 16th component, right? So provide that component name. What is that? C 10 a.m. What? WD 16. When you include a component inside another component, we have to use some alias name, alternative name. So that is nothing but called as what? Component usage name. Okay, we are including this component, but how to recognize this included component in the current component? What is the alias name you want to give? So for my convenience, I'll give the component usage name. We call it as component usage name. I'll give it as wd what 16 anything. I'm giving it as what? WD 16. Am I clear? So I can include n number of what? N number of components. For every included component, we have to associate what? A component usage name. Okay. So the moment I do this, see left hand side, one node gets created. I'll press enter. Oh, acha, good. Good that we have used. What is that? Name WD16 cannot begin with what? WD it seems. So what I'll do, let me remove this. I'll give the name as CMP what? 16, component 16. I'll press enter. Done. Right. So you can observe here one node got created now. What is this? Component interface. If I expand this, it's not it. Let me save it once. When I save it once, yeah. Now what got created? Component usage. If I expand this, what is that? CMP 16. CMP 16 is referring to which component? Z10MWD 16. So what I have done here? What is the requirement? I have to include this view in this view. So I have to include this component. Na? So where I included that as part of what? Component level with what component usage name? CMP 16. The moment you include any component, a node gets created called as what? Component usage. So what is the purpose? We'll understand later on. Leave it. let me come back to this view. So this view should hold the external view now. This view should hold the external view. How do we hold the views? By using what? View container. So what I'll do, as part of my current view, right click on this, I'll say insert element. I'll say what? What is the type? View container UI element. So I've created what? View container UI element. Done. Save it. Check it. Activate this. Done. So let me activate the whole component. Then it is activated. Now if I execute my application, so what I did here, I have included that 16th component at what? Component level, and I have created a view container on my current view, but I have not yet embedded the view. So when I test it, still I am not getting what? That particular view. So what I have to do here is, in the view, not in the view, in the already this view is plugged to the window. Na? If you go to the window, this window contains what? This view. This view contains what? View container. So at the window level, right click on what? View container. What is this? Embed view. View to be embedded. In the earlier roadmap, we embedded the current view. Now view to be browsers. It is asking whether you want to embed the current component views or what? What? Included component. So I have to choose this only, na? Right? So this will be available only if you have included this component at what level? Component level. Understood? So that's the reason. First include that component at component level, then try to embed the view. I'll choose this. So 6. What is the window it is showing here? Window. To this window only that view is embedded. Na? Done, done, done. Continue. Okay, let me save it, check it. It will not show it in the design time. In the design time it doesn't show. It shows only in what? Runtime. So right click on this, activate this. Now check it. So we don't have a feeling that this belongs to what? Other component. This physically belongs to what? Other. So we are reusing now. Am I clear? Online, is it clear so far? Okay, done. Now the next requirement is what? I have to enter what? Some customer number. When I click on this, what is the event triggered? On action event. I have to call the method available in the external component, na? Right? I have to call the method in the external component. This is the button available at what? View level, na? So I am at the view level. If you go to that what? Actions, on action, call external method, done. So first of all, what I have to do? I have to read the customer number entered, na? Where is this customer number available? It is binded with what attribute? What is the attribute? CST number. I have to read the value of this attribute. Na? Reading the value of input field is nothing but what? Reading the value of this particular attribute field, because we have binded that input field with this attribute only. Na? So what is the first step here? Yes. Read the value of what? Read the entered what? Customer number. So data what? LV underscore Kunnar, type what? WD underscore this of what? Context hyphen what? CST number. That's all. Na? In the local this interface, under element underscore context only we have that attribute what? CST number. Okay. Done. So then I have to read it. So it is under root only. Na? So what is the root context? WD underscore what? Context. If underscore WD underscore context node. What is the method? Get underscore what? Attribute. Okay. Referring to the root, I am reading that. What is the name of the attribute? CST number. What is the imported, where is that? LV underscore what? Kunnar. Okay, then if LV underscore Kunnar is what? Not initial, do so and so. Else, what I have to do? You have to flash the message to enter customer number. Right? Flash what? Message to enter customer number. So same story again you have to write. Clear? So let me just copy it from there. Same thing, na? So I'll go to 16. What is that method? Get sales orders. Yeah, in the else part, same thing. What is that? Get the reference of Webdynpro program, get the reference of message manager. Then here report what? Warning. What is that? Please enter what? Customer number. I'm reporting warning. You decide whether you want to flash error message or what. Warning message. Done. Save it. Check it. Oh, sorry. Here I did a mistake. Get the reference of so and so. So here it is not WD this. We are at the view level now. So what is the object of this? WD what? Comp controller. So this should be what? WD underscore what? Comp underscore controller of what? WD get. If you are at the component level, it is a WD this. This method is available where? In the this interface only, na? If you double click on this, what is the object of that? WD underscore what? Comp underscore controller. Yeah, we are at the view level. How do you refer to the method of a component? WD component. Earlier we are directly at what? Component level, so it is showing WD this. Okay, this refers to what? Current controller. Rest of the thing is same. Done, done, done. Let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Done. Activate this. Let me execute now. Right, I'm not entering anything. I'll click on this button. I got a warning message. I'll give what 1000. Now I have to call that external method now. So simple thing. We are at the view level now. So if size of RC, sorry, if LV underscore kunnar is not initial, what I have to do? Logic for what? Calling what? What? External Webdynpro what? Component what? Method. What is the method I have to call? Get sales orders. So we are at what? V1 of what? 17. If you go to this attributes, will that method is available in this interface? No, na? This is a standard interface given by whom? SAP. Let me check it here. When I double click on this, can we see anywhere that method get sales orders? Not there, na? Not there. Get sales orders is not available. Okay, I'll check it in what? This one. Do we have it here? No, it's not there. Am I clear? So currently it is showing you the methods of current component. We have to call what? External Webdynpro component method, where we included this component earlier. At what level? Component level. Why we have included here? Because of this inclusion only we are able to embed that external view, right? So if you leave it like this, I can only embed what? External view. But what is my agenda now? I need to call what? External method also, na? As of now I am unable to recognize that particular method. So what you have to do is, if you include that component only at what? Component level, what maximum I can do? I can only embed what? External views. But now I have to call external methods also, na? So include that component in the view level also. From which view you want to call? Viewer, na? So include that particular component include that component at what? Our view level also. Whenever we include any external component at view level, okay, whenever we include any external component at what? View level, SAP will create some two methods. Okay, what are the two methods? WD underscore CPI FC underscore what? Component usage name. Then what? WD underscore CP use underscore what? Component usage name. Is it clear to everyone? Okay, so we have to include that external component at the view level also. Whenever we include that external component at the view level also, SAP will generate two methods. These two methods are available in what? Local interface. What is the local interface? If underscore what? View name. So before I do the inclusion here, as of now this view knows only about which component? Which component? Yes, only about what? Current component. Na? This view should also know about what? Included component also. So before that, if you go back to my local interface, do we have any method with WD CPIFC? We have WD get API, WD create action, get call, no, get component, no. We don't have any method like what? WD CPIFC, WD CP use. So what I have to do now? As part of my view properties, okay, as part of view properties, here there is a button what? In my view properties we have a button what? Create controller usage. If I click on this, how many entries are there related to included component? Two entries na. One is 17 which is not relevant, CMP 16 and what? CMP 16. Include these entries one by one. Am I clear? Why I am able to see it here? Because already we have included that at what level? Component level. So what you have to understand is directly you cannot include at what? View level. First you have to include at what? Component level. So now in the view level current properties, I'll include this CMP 16. Next again what? Click on this. What is the other one? CMP 16 interface controller. So how many entries are there related to that? See, two entries na? CMP 16 this one, CMP 16 interface controller. Okay, now let me save it once. Now go and check the local view interface. If I double click on this, do we have that methods anywhere? CPI FC and what? CPU. So these methods will be available only when you include that external component at what? View level. Am I clear? But before including at view level, first you have to include at what? Component level. Clear? So these two methods are very, very, very important going forward. Any questions so far? Why we are including? To call the external component methods. If you include only at component level, I can only embed what? External views. I cannot access external methods. Okay, so that's the reason include that component at current view level also. The moment you include, two corresponding methods gets what? Generated. Now see the technique. In these two methods, CPUs and what? CPFC. Forget about CPUs for the time being. See this CPFC. What is this method? Instance method. Na? How do you call instance method? By using what? Object. What is the object of the current interface? WD underscore what? This. So by using that object, I'll try to call that method. What this method will do, it seems, returns what? Object of which one? ZWCA underscore what? 10 WD what? 16. So I'll just copy this. I am interested to receive it. So see the technique here. What you have to say here is get the reference of what? What? Interface. Interface controller means controller related to included component. Controller related to include component. So data o underscore what? Interface controller type ref to this one, which I copied. So then also o underscore what? interface control equal to how to access that method by using what? What is the method? WD underscore CPI FC underscore what is the component usage name? CMP16. Whatever it is returning, I am receiving in my reference. Am I clear? I can call this method only if it is available. When it is available, when you include those component at what level? View level. Done. Now the next step is if what? O underscore interface controller is what? Is what? Bound. Okay, now the next step is what? Call what? External method. What is the external method name? Get sales orders. Huh? External method get sales orders. So I got the object. This is the object of which interface? ZIWCA underscore what? Then name WD 16. So let me go to that 16th component and check. Or let me try to double click on this. Will it take there? Yes. It is taking to that what? In that, what is the method available? Gets understood. On behalf of that component, one interface got generated. Yes or no? On behalf of that component, one interface got. What is the method name? Get. What is this method? Instance. How to call? Using what? Object. What is the signature? It is taking one customer number. Okay. So now let me call that. Okay. So I can use pattern because it is a global interface or directly. Okay. Let me call it. What is the object? O underscore or else let me not use pattern directly. I'll call it. What is this? Not call. Or else let me use the pattern. What is the interface controller reference I got? Controller. What is the interface name? Z IW CI underscore what? 10 16. What is the method available? Get sales orders. Okay, done. What is that? Kunnar equal to what? LV underscore what? Kunnar. Done. That's all. So we are passing what? We are passing customer number to this method. What that method is doing? Getting the sales orders. If the sales orders are available, getting the reference of which node? VBAK node. That VBAK node is linked with the table. Na? Any of that view is embedded here. Okay, so save it, check it, done, activate this. Okay, let me right click on this, say activate. So when I execute now, done. So I'll enter 1000. When I click on this, on action event is triggered. I'm reading the customer number. Then what I did, I got the reference of what? Interface controller. Using that reference, I call that particular external method. That method gets executed, which will retrieve the data, bind the data to which node? VBAK node. VBAK node is binded with this table only. Na? So when I click on this, oh, yeah, I got the data. Okay, 1000. Okay, 1001 I'll say. Data is getting what? Refreshed. Am I clear? Working fine. 1002. Getting what? Refreshed. Clear? So, what is the concept you have to understand? What is the meaning of component reusability? The entities declared in the source component can be reused in what? Target component. What kind of entities? It can be context, it can be method, attribute, views, or what? Windows. So, in this component, what are the entities I am reusing? One is what? Method, another is what? View. So for using this view, first of all, what I have to do? As part of component level, we have to include what? External component by providing what? Component usage name. So with this inclusion, what you can do at the window level, in the view container, I am able to embed what? External view. Done. But from the view level also, I should call that external method. Na? By default, this view knows only about the current view controller or current component controller. It doesn't know about what? Included component. So that has to be indicated by including that component at what level? View properties level. Include those two entries related to that included component. The moment you include that included component, two corresponding methods gets generated as part of what? Local view interface. What are they? WD CPUs, WD CPI, FC. As of now, we have not used what? CPUs. We use only what? CPI, FC, which will return the reference of that particular controller. Okay, so once we got the reference of the interface controller, what do you mean interface controller? The controller related to what? Included component. So using that reference only, I am calling which method? External method. Is it clear? Now, this is the logic I wrote, na? This is the logic I wrote. Let me comment this. Yeah, I'm commenting this logic. So what I did here, I've included that external component at what? Yes, what level? View level. How many methods got generated? Two methods, CPI, FC, and what? CP user, no, C here. Instead of I writing that logic, I'll go to what? Wizard. Understood? Instead of writing these two steps by ourselves, I'll go to wizard. Okay, it's not there. In general tab, yeah, method call in what? Current controller method call in what? I have to call a method of used controller and I'll choose this. Browse this. What is that used component? CMP16 only, na? Done. What is the method you want to call? Get sales orders, sir. Browse this. Do we have that? Get sales orders. Continue. Is the code is generated here? See what they are also doing? They are also declaring the reference of that interface. Using that, what they did? They got the reference just like ourselves. Then using that, they are calling what? Get sales orders. Here you have to pass it. Understood? Instead of we writing the code, it is auto generated by what? SAP itself. I repeat once again. But if I have not explained this, can you do it blindly? No, na? So we should know the concept first. Is it clear? So first include that included component at what level? View level. Two methods get generated. WD CPUs and WD what? CPI FC. Then now I'll go to what? Wizard. It is asking in the what? General tab. It is asking whether you want to call the method of current controller or what? Use controller. Use controller in a right? So browses. Okay, what are the use controller component 16 only na? So just choose this. Done. Okay, then what? Method name, browses. What is the method name? Get sales orders. So understood the advantage of the wizard. If I directly do this, it would be very difficult for us to what? Analyze. So that's what, don't rely on what? Wizard. Wizard will generate the code, but if I have to modify something, what I will not understand anything. That's the reason better go for what? Manual coding only. That's it. So this is the concept of component reusable. So in this example, I have reused the components of my custom component. Tomorrow onwards, I'll reuse the components of what? Standard Webdynpro component. So what is the procedure you have to follow? Include that standard component what level? Component level by providing what? Some component history name. If you want to access any methods at view level, include that component at what level? Yes, view level also. How many methods gets generated? Two methods. In this context, I use only one method. Tomorrow onwards, I'll use the other method also. So, any questions? Others, is it clear? Yes. No, here, first of all, if you go to component level, right? So I can include any number of components. No? Let me try to include what? Z10M WD15, right? I'm not providing any component. It will not allow, first of all. What is saying here? Compulsory you have to enter. It's mandatory one. With that name only, it will be recognized in the current component. Okay, right? So like this, I can include what? Any number of what? Components. So as of today, I have reused only what? Method and what? View. Going forward, I'll be using these things also, everything. That's all. This is a concept of component reusability. Done. So I'll wind up for today. Any questions? Chalo then. So I'm winding off. We'll continue tomorrow with using the standard components given by SAP.